Are you running out of time to upgrade your ISO 27000 certification to the 2022 version? Are you looking for step-by-step instructions to quickly accomplish this? Well, watch this video and I'll show you how. Let's get started. Okay, let me give you a detailed breakdown of the ISO 27000 2022 version. I'll go over the summary of changes, followed by the updated clauses, followed by the updated controls. So let's get started. First thing first, let's look at the list of updated clause. So clause 4.2, which talks about understanding the needs and expectations of interested parties. Clause 4.4, Information Security Management System. Clause 5.3, Organizational Roles. Clause 6.2, Information Security Objectives and Planning to Achieve them. Clause 6.3, Planning of Changes. And by the way, this is a new clause. This is not an updated clause. This is a new one. And clause 7.4, which was a communication clause, has now been deleted. Another updated clause is clause 8.1, operational planning and control, clause 9.3, management review, clause 10, improvement. All these clauses have been updated in the newer version. Now let's talk about the updated controls. There have been 11 new controls introduced in this version, 57 merged, 23 renamed, and 35 of the controls have no changes. Here's a list of 11 new controls, and you can find this in the annexes. So in the annex 5.7, threat intelligence, 5.23, information security for use of cloud services, 5.30, ICT readiness for business continuity, 7.4, physical security monitoring, Annex 8.9, configuration management, 8.10, information deletion, 8.11, data masking, 8.12, data leakage prevention, 8.16, monitoring activities, 8.3, web filtering, 8.23, secure coding. All right, let's go through the details of these updated clauses. Let's talk about clause 4.2. So the only thing changed in the clause 4.2 is the section C, which talks about the information security requirements. This version is to document the action required. The action required in this version is to identify and document explicitly what requirements the security management system will address. Okay, so in clause 4.4, there's only a verbiage change that you really need to update. So there's not a whole lot that you have to do here. Previously, the verbiage was reading, the organization shall establish, implement, maintain, and continually improve an information security management system in accordance with the requirements of this international standard. In the 2022 version, it reads, the organization shall establish, implement, maintain, and continually improve an information security management system, including the processes needed and their interactions in accordance with the requirements of this document. That's the only thing that's changing in the clause 4.4. So obviously the action required is for you to go and update the verbiage. That's all you got to do. In clause 5.3, in the previous version, in the clause 5.3, there's also just a verbiage change. So in the clause 5.3, under section A, it would read, ensuring that the information security management system conforms to the requirements of this standard and reporting on the performance and so forth. In the 2022 version, now the section 5.3 reads, top management shall ensure that the responsibility and authorities for roles relevant to information security are assigned and communicated within the organization. The second verbiage change is in the section A, where previously it was saying it was using the verbiage of international standard and. However, in the new version, they have changed it to this document. That's the only verbiage you really have to change. All right, let's talk about clause 5.3 and see what has changed here. So these are the changes that you will have to make sure that are implemented in your environment. And the first one is ensure the integrity of the information security management system by clearly defining and communicating relevant roles and responsibilities within the organization. The second one is the top management is tasked with assigning responsibilities and authority to ensure conformance to the international standard, such as 27001. The third one is top management also holds the responsibility of reporting on the performance of the information security management system to higher ups within the organization. The fourth one emphasizes clear communication and well-defined roles for successful implementation of an information security management system. And the last change is strive to meet international standard in establishing the information security management system. All right, so in the clause 6.2, which is information security objectives and planning to achieve them, there have been a couple of changes here. All right, so let's go over the clause 6.2 and see what has changed here. There have been a couple of subsections added here, or should we say a couple of requirements added here, as you can see under the 6.2 section. One has to do with the objectives monitoring. The other one is to document all the objectives. So the action required is, and so the revised clause now specifically states that information security objectives must be monitored and documented. Under the clause 6.3, there have been new changes. Under the clause 6.3, new requirements have been added. And it states, when the organization determines the need for changes to the information security system, the changes shall be carried out in a planned manner. Now, this was already implied in the previous version, and most organizations would have followed their change management process to make changes to their information security management system. However, in the 2022 version, now they have explicitly defined that you must use change management process to carry out changes. Now, under the clause 7.1, there have been some interesting changes. The modifications made this change is made to streamline the communication process. The previous requirement of specifying who will communicate has now been replaced by outlining the method of communication, thus eliminating the need to detail how communication shall take place. Now, I believe that you should still document how you will communicate and who will communicate, even though clearly this is not the ISO 2022 requirements. Clause 8.1, operational planning and control, has quite a few changes that have been introduced in the 2022 version. So under this version, the organization shall plan, implement, and control the processes needed to meet requirements and to implement the actions determined in Clause 6 by, here are the changes, establishing criteria for the processes, implementing control of the processes in accordance with the criteria. Documented information should be available to the extent necessary to have confidence that the processes have been carried out as planned. Another change within this clause is that the organization shall ensure that externally provided processes, products, or services that are relevant to the information security management system are controlled. 8.1 features several changes that are intended to clarify the language of the standard. So the new wording for planning, implementing, and controlling processes has been broadened to include meeting all requirements, not just information security requirements. The updated language also emphasizes establishing criteria for processes and implementing controls in accordance with those criteria. So rather than the requiring document information be kept, the new standard states that it shall be available. And finally, the term outsourced processes has been replaced with the externally provided processes, products, or services relevant to the information security management system, which must be controlled accordingly. The management review clause also have some significant changes that ought to be noted. Under this clause, new sections have been added to the standard, and it's section 9.3.1, section 9.3.2, and section 9.3.3. In the section 9.3.2, there's a subsection added now that says changes in need and expectations of interested parties that are relevant to the information security management system. Under the section 9.3.2, now it requires that the management review shall include consideration of changes in needs and expectations of interested parties that are relevant to the information security system. And also section 9.3.3, which is the management review results. Now it states that the results of the management review shall include decisions related to the continual improvement and opportunities. So the thing to learn here is that the management review primarily focuses on wording and clarification concerning how the requirements are presented. Although no significant alterations have been made to the clause, the subclause have been organized more comprehensively for enhanced clarity. Now let's look at the last clause and its changes. So in this case, there have been some verbiage changes, but also what it actually requires you to do. Previously, it would say the organization shall retain documented information, but in the new version, it's requiring you to make sure that the documented information is available as evidence. The thing to note here is that the clause number has been updated and it is now known as ISO 27002-2022 clause 10.1, continual improvement. The thing to note here is that the clause number has been updated and it is now known as ISO 27000-2022 clause 10.1, continual improvement. It was previously known as ISO 27000-2013 clause 10.2, continual improvement. However, there have been no changes to the content. The good news is that there have been no real changes to the content of the clause. Well, that was all for this episode. Thank you for watching. Till next time. And remember, don't be scared, be prepared.